Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today, we're going to react to Jimmy Timmy Power Hour Trilogy Was Weird. I love these cartoons, man. I love going back through the cartoons that I used to watch growing up as a kid, man. Taking me back, because, you know, back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. Sundays I sit and wish I was a kid again. Y'all know the song. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Bitch.
There was nothing more hype on TV back when growing up than the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour Trilogy. You know, these days we are, for the most part, hyped to see stuff like what the MCU has been able to accomplish. Heck, have you seen the new Spider-Man No Way Home movie? It's all about the multiverse and getting even more meta. But back in 2004, we had this hype crossover that technically can also be considered doing so over a cartoon multiverse. Yeah, Cartoon Network does that now with stuff like OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, and Pibby for Adult Swim. But for my childhood, maybe some of yours as well, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour Trilogy was something along the likes we weren't prepared for. Today, we're going to explore the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour Trilogy all in one video and have ourselves a nice time, okay? Is that okay with you? Good. Also, welcome... The Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. It's the day before the science fair at Timmy's school, and the theme that they have to make for their projects is transportation. Everyone in the class has already finished with their projects for the science fair, except for Timmy, who has spent his time playing video games, specifically Decimator Crush the Planet. The game is shown in 3D animation as opposed to Timmy's 2D world. This will be important soon. Timmy tricks Mr. Crocker to get out of the class to go work on his project. Outside of the class, he is handed an auto poofer that sends him back to his room at home, as for some reason he must go check out some labs without them. After checking out AJ's lab, which he doesn't want to use, he uses the device to head back to his room, there wishing to see the greatest lab beyond Timmy's little 2D world. And the fairies, well, they just go on a quick Hawaiian vacation. Now with Jimmy in his lab, he's currently working on Goddard for updates, so it means that he has to be shut down for a time to get that done. Timmy poofs into Jimmy's lab now with a 3D look and starts messing around with all of Jimmy's gadgets, in hopes of finding something for the science fair, quickly bumping into Jimmy and then having a confrontation about who has the ownership of the lab. Timmy then falls into the hypercube and Jimmy mistakes the auto poofer for another one of his devices and now gets sent to Timmy's 2D world. So here's where we get the really cool special intro where it's a battle of the theme songs. Boombox v Boombox, Dawn of Justice, until the two come out and fight and we reveal the title card. This intro was so hype and such a fun overall idea for the series. Timmy gets out and continues messing with all the stuff, literally the full gadget arsenal from Jimmy's collection. He notices Goddard and thinks he's some sort of video game box, swapping the tune-up disc for his copy of, you guessed it, Decimator. And now that begins downloading into Goddard instead. It's going to take a while, so we leave it there for a bit. Carl and Sheen come bursting into the lab as well, and they think that Jimmy has turned himself into Timmy. And they take a quick liking to him because he allows them to play with all the gadgets that they weren't allowed to play with usually. Even Jimmy's mom mistakes Timmy for Jimmy, so to avoid getting in trouble with her, he hypnotizes her to think that she is Mighty Mom. And then she thinks Hugh is Lint Boy. Hugh, well, he thinks it's some sort of role play.
But let me chase you this time.
While messing around with the hoverboard, Timmy runs into Cindy and Libby, quickly taking a liking to Cindy because he thinks she's pretty and really smart. Cindy thinks that he's one of Jimmy's smart friends from out of town, so those two ditch everyone else after he asks her to help him with his science fair project. Goddard, however, is done downloading the game and turns himself into the Decimator, attacking Hugh for his first victim.
Hey Amy, how's it going?
Pretty good. Little traffic on the 405. I'll be up in about a half hour, 45 minutes.
Stay tuned. Nickelodeon will be right back.
Now back in Dimsdale with Jimmy, yes, now in 2D, Cosmo and Wanda poof back into the room from their Hawaiian getaway, as they quickly have a screaming interaction with Jimmy, who just thinks that they're holograms as he believes Timmy is some sort of genius. Timmy's dad thinks that Jimmy is Timmy, just in disguise to get out of his responsibilities, something he has done in the past. Here for the reasonings of getting out of doing his science fair project. Vicky is tasked with making sure Timmy, well, Jimmy, gets to school, no ifs, ands, or buts. Cosmo and Wanda really can't can't do much to help Jimmy as only Timmy can make wishes with them. The whole class just thinks that it's Timmy in disguise, continuing the jokes that Timmy's dad was making just a moment ago. Crocker gives him an F, which burned Jimmy's skin for it being such a bad grade. When the class is clowning who they think is Timmy, Jimmy rebuttals saying, nah, that Timmy guy, he's a genius. He invented this teleportation device and clicks the auto poofer in front of everyone, sending him right back to Timmy's room. This prompts Crocker to spring into action, unveiling his real plan of finding a person with these science fairs that invents a device that could have the power to bring him to the mythical fairy world. Jimmy notices that something is wrong with Goddard and figures that he needs to get back to his home world of Retroville, so he combines the poofer with the Game Boy, and somehow that works to hone in on where he wants to travel to, other than the same room. But before doing so, Crocker breaks into Timmy's room and grabs a device, setting a course to Fairy World, and to even his surprise, it works. Back with Timmy and Sydney, now sharing a float at the candy bar, the rest of the friend group runs in and tells them about Goddard going crazy, and that he's attacking people. Timmy brushes it off as it's just a video game which Sydney believes he made himself. Goddard, though, like the game, is made to grow more and more powerful based on taking players it locks onto out. Or in this case, those players are the town citizens. Timmy doesn't have anything useful to say or help, so he just takes Cindy and leaves the area. All while Goddard continues his rampage of terror, taking out Hugh, and then an ice cream truck. Carl, Sheen, and Libby are now our only hope at stopping Goddard as his power is getting out of control, now targeting them for decimation. Using the mind phone, Cindy and Timmy share with each other their inner thoughts, to take things to the next level. Here it is made apparent that if Timmy weren't the smart guy he is playing it off to be, that Cindy wouldn't have had any interest. Little superficial there, Cindy, but I understand. I guess she's got a type. But now the Goddard situation is too big to ignore, and Timmy gets eaten by him. So now when stuck inside, Cindy reaches Timmy from Jimmy's lab, guiding him through what to do and escape from danger, as well as shut down Goddard, effectively quitting the game. Timmy also tried having a brain blast, which, before it even entered his ear, he gets bored and doesn't think of anything. Once escaped from Goddard, Cindy thinks that Timmy purposely was acting stupid to let her figure out how to solve the problem and help out. So she gives him a big old kiss for being so sweet. In reality, he's just a moron. Goddard returns to normal and the day in Retroville is saved. But now we have to check back in with Jimmy, who now in Fairy World reaches out to Timmy and the crew through Goddard. Aside from Carl and Sheen learning now that this is not Jimmy, but is actually someone named Timmy, he shows them that now they are stuck here in Fairy World with Crocker, which freaks out Timmy. Jimmy doesn't care one bit. He just wanted to make sure his dog was okay, and then he just hangs up on them. Crocker, now on a tour bus of Fairy World he snuck onto, learns some information about some powerful fairy weapons and technology that can destroy the Big Wand, which is the apparent source of all fairy magic, which would effectively make him ruler if he were to take it down. Crocker actually accomplishes this feat, and when Jorgen von Strangle comes to stop him, he just turns him into a dog. But when Crocker isn't aware of Jimmy anymore, Jimmy builds an electromagnet to secretly steal back the poofer Game Boy device. But hope for the Fairy World seems too little too late, as most things are being changed now into Crocker World. Jimmy was about to just peace out and head home, but in an effort for them to prove to him that they are more than just some little computer programs that do need his help, Timmy gets back in contact with Jimmy through Jimmy's watch and begs him to help the fairies, explaining that they are just as real to Timmy as Goddard is as much of a real dog to Jimmy. Jimmy has a part 2D, part 3D brain blast and comes up with a plan. So he travels back to Dimsdale and starts stealing stuff from other people's projects, creating essentially a Gundam or alien power loader-esque suit, and take your pick. He faces Crocker one-on-one, kicks his butt a bit to some sweet tunes until Crocker turns it around and gets the upper hand, and psych, it was all a fake Jimmy that the fairies were controlling, as the real Jimmy was secretly trying to restore the power to Fairy World and starts it back up. Crocker shows up to stop him once and for all, but Jimmy takes control of Jorgen's wand and stops Crocker. And then Dog Jorgen threatens to attack him so bad that he forgets everything of Fairy World. Timmy calls back in and through the call wishes for them to be back in their respective dimensions, as they meet up in the cosmos of space. No. Not that Cosmo. Okay, that's just a picture of Costco. Anyway, they meet each other, shake hands, turn back into their original animation styles, and are on their way back home. Jimmy knows the truth of him not really being that smart of a guy, but Cindy, who tries reaching out through the portal for him, is none the wiser to his stupidity. At Timmy's school, we see Crocker beaten up so bad that, He did forget his memory, because sure, the dog bit it out of him, or something. When it comes down to the science fair, when it's Timmy's turn to present, Jimmy sends Goddard through a portal he created to travel between dimensions for Timmy to win the science fair. They have a mutual respect for each other, it seems, as they call each other by their undertitles. With Timmy, just an average kid who no one understands, and Jimmy, the boy genius. Thus ending part 1.
Coming up, it's the Fairly Odd Parents. Now here's more Fairly Odd Parents on Nick.
So that's the first of 3 Jimmy Timmy Power Hours, an overall fun first adventure that was truly iconic for its time, and honestly, even now, it makes good use of their individual worlds and the main characters from each of them. The only real problem being that Jimmy and Timmy only share screen time for a small portion of the episode, but that, what some may consider a flaw, is quickly rectified in both of the upcoming parts. As far as their introduction, it was a fun idea to swap these 2 characters between worlds. I love that in Retroville, Timmy in 3D looks so bulgy to the point you may question if he's in pain. I also like his all-in-one pants and shoe outfit based on his 2D look. It's just so funny. Jimmy, however, looks really good in 2D, pretty much like any other character that belongs in that show. And seeing how they handle individual threats to their unique worlds without the proper person being there is fun and engaging. It's an idea that works out pretty well, and for how they go about solving that type of problem on their own is pretty entertaining. Timmy letting someone else fix his mess in someone else's world, and Jimmy just using his overall smarts to take down Crocker. I honestly really enjoyed part 1, but it's only the beginning of what's to come. Now it's time for the sequel, When Nerds Collide, this time starting with Jimmy testing bad luck for Friday the 13th. A superstition he doesn't truly believe in, as there will be a Friday the 13th dance at school. Carl, while walking under a ladder, keeps getting electrocuted, but not thanks to bad luck, rather so the electrical rod Sheen used to fix the ladder. Jimmy almost asks Cindy to the dance, but Professor Finbar Calamitous is seen robbing a bank, so he ditches her to go and stop him. Back with Timmy, he as well is having a Friday the 13th dance, one where he realizes he hasn't asked anyone out yet. Timmy thinks about Sydney and realizes that she would be the perfect date and wishes to be in Retroville once more. Hey, here's that really cool intro again, now ending with the 2. We cut to Fairy World Prison as Anti-Cosmo is sneaking around trying to break out Anti-Wanda and the rest of the Anti-Fairies. Jordan shows up to stop him as Anti-Cosmo threatens him with the power of Friday the 13th, increasing their bad luck magic. So Jordan in response tightens up the security to the maximum. But thanks to a loophole in wording, something outside of the dimension may be able to help get past the security defenses. Now back with Calamitous, he, however, was working with Dr. Moist, the guy from the episode with the algae men. Jimmy shows up and quickly stopping them like usual. Now running into the Jimmy Neutron crew is Timmy, as he makes it clear that he is here again to ask Cindy out to his Friday the 13th dance, prompting Jimmy to get a bit jealous as he was going to do the same thing. But since Cindy is already pissed at Jimmy for ditching her earlier, Timmy may have a good shot here. Timmy surprises Cindy by showing up flying into her window, and right before he asks, Jimmy comes in as well and tries to tell her that Timmy's not really a genius. So now they have to settle it the old-fashioned way. And wow, even Jimmy's friends still like Timmy better. Before Timmy's burp cannon can get Jimmy, Goddard picks him up and places him in his rocket. So Timmy wishes for his own rocket and goes after him. Calamitous, while looking for another collaborator to work with again to do no good deeds, notices the battle in the sky. The battle ends with Timmy distracting Jimmy long enough where he crashes into a mountainside and Timmy saves him before he hits the ground. Timmy says, alright, later homies, and takes Cindy back to the 2D land of Dimsdale. So Jimmy sets a plan to head after them by building a full portal back there. And Calamitous is closely lurking while this happens. Once the portal is done, the rest of the Jimmy crew jump through the portal, and so does Calamitous, but not before raiding the unattended lab of one James Isaac Neutron. We see that back in Dimsdale, Timmy had wished his life to be perfectly in line with Cindy's biggest dreams, thanks to stealing her journal for a bit. Not cool, dude. This is why she should have got that password journal device, just saying. His parents are now shown to be rich, and they have a big mansion, everything you could imagine inside. But before Timmy can fully ask her out, she wants to see his lab. So while not being able to wish for the lab thanks to Cindy, he hijacks AJ's lab to impress her, which works for the moment. Calamitous is shown to have stolen Jimmy's hypercube that he has stored a bunch of Jimmy's gadgets in. Timmy's dad once again mistakes Jimmy for Timmy in disguise and forces him to do the household chores, which stops Jimmy from getting in between Timmy and Cindy for the moment. When Timmy Timmy keeps taking her to romantic locations to ask her out, he keeps getting interrupted by Carl, Sheen, and Libby, so eventually he wishes that Cosmo and Wanda will only go and listen to them, and their wishes to distract them for a bit so he can finally speak with Cindy alone. Jimmy, after sick of doing chores, notices that Calamitous has come through the portal as well, and finds out that he is after Timmy's fairies, or computer programs, as Jimmy still thinks that they're that. Anti-Cosmo, though, runs into Calamitous, who he notices is not from this dimension, so they make a deal with each other. He will help work with Calamitous as the fairy he needs, but in return he needs to help break out the anti-fairies. So they go and set the anti-fairies free, but of course Anti-Cosmo turns on him, locking him up in jail with Jorgen. And all the anti-fairies take to the skies of the world, so now that everyone is aware of the threat they now face.
Here we go, come on. You gotta want it. Here we go. There you go, sweetie. Thanks. I gotta lay off the corn chips.
Their main goal is to blow up and act like they don't know nobody. Their main goal is to have it be Friday the 13th every day, bringing constant bad luck to everyone on Earth. Calamitous teams up with Jorgen to escape. I mean, the keys were left in the lot right there. That's so convenient. The anti-fairies are now flying around the world, slowing it and stopping Earth's rotation. So much like Christmas every day, but it's Friday the 13th every day. Neutron invents a way to track down his friends as they need to get the fairies back over to Timmy, which can only happen if they wish for it. So they do just that. Timmy brings them to Crocker's under-school lab that he tries to play off as his own, and while digging around there, he finds a butterfly net that he explains to the rest of them is used for capturing the fairies. It's their one true weakness. Jimmy, much like the Auto Poofer Game Boy combination from the last part, combines the butterfly net with his hypercube to create a new way to ghostbuster all of these anti-fairies. As bad luck reigns amok everywhere, the gang start racking in some of their own bad luck to distract and get the attention from all the anti-fairies to come to them, which, when it starts to work, the Earth resumes its rotation and the days can move forward once more, successfully capturing all of the anti-fairies in the hypercube. Calamitous and Jorgen fuse, where now Calamitous has full control over Jorgen's body. So now here, Calamity Jorgen just smites our heroes and steals Cindy, bringing her back to the world of 3D, as he wants to set off a bomb in Retroville to destroy the Earth and be in charge of the new world. Jimmy and Timmy are shown to have survived the smiting and were just turned into snails thanks to Jorgen's wand, and now as the bomb is getting prepared, they turn Cindy into a goldfish, and the countdown begins. The rest of the friends work together to distract them as Jimmy and Timmy secretly start working on a plan. The fighting between Jorgen and Calamitous continue as they notice the angrier Jorgen gets based on the rules, or for fairies doing stuff weird in general that makes no logical sense, a bit of him comes back into control. They turn Sheen into a fairy himself, so Sheen and Cosmo ride around a flying hot dog, with it being so illogical it would bring more rage from Jorgen, so they keep amping up the weird factor more and more. They fake out Jimmy wishing Timmy Turner was gone, which breaks the biggest rule of them all, opening a shot for them to begin gene splicing them back apart, which is a success. But what they didn't do is deactivate the bomb, which goes off, everyone dies, the end. Alright, I'm just kidding. Jorgen stopped it just in time, now with Calamitous all shrunken down. Carl now holds him in a jar. Oh, God, no, Carl, why? Cindy now still needing to choose which proposal to the dance she wants to take, Jimmy's or Timmy's. She finally notices that Timmy, well, he isn't that smart like he's been letting her on to believe, but she still kinda likes him. Jorgen makes a fair trade based on all the events that happen, where dimensions are literally split at the dance. One side Retroville, the other Dimsdale, as Timmy and Jimmy share dances with Cindy back and forth between them. They all dance to My Shiny Teeth and Me as Carl wishes that rather than Calamitous, that it would be Jimmy's mom in the jar. Yikes, Carl, that's a big fat yikes.
Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, yo, hey yo. Oh man.
What is that? What the fuck is that? Bruh. That's how I step on niggas. Hey yo, what the fuck? Step on shit like
Hey, I don't blame him though. Shit, he turned him into Jimmy's mom, bro. I forgot Carl had a crush on Jimmy's mom, bro. Oh my god, bro. That shit is hilarious. That just brought it back, bro. This nigga Carl had a crush on Jimmy's mom, man. Jimmy's mom. Nigga had a crush on her heavy, bro. Carl was wild. Carl was wild for this, bro.
Stop getting these jar ideas from the internet. This was another really fun part. The main storyline being the fight over Cindy, with all of this calamitous anti-fairy business being the result of ignorance as it played out in the background, until it became a problem for them all to face. I think the transitions for the most part of the other characters who we hadn't seen switch between worlds before looked pretty good overall. Maybe 3D Jordan was a bit weird, but it was what it was. It just seems that Jimmy Neutron characters transfer better into 2D than Fairly Odd Parent characters transferring to 3D. But it did feel like a big event crossover that utilized everyone rather than some characters being left with nothing to do. So it was more fleshed out, and we get to see Jimmy and Timmy together for a good portion of the runtime. Solid second entry in the trilogy. Alright, now it's time for the final part, titled The Jerkinators. Starting once again in Retroville, Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are working on a portal device. He uses it to look into other dimensions, with one of them being Dimsdale, to see Timmy once more. Timmy is shown to be trying to spend time with his friends, which are all too busy to hang out with him, so he wishes to return to Retroville again to see Cindy. Jimmy overhears that thanks to his portal. Alright, that's some invasion of privacy right there. They literally once again run into each other, right as he appears in Retroville, and they continue to fight over who can go see Cindy. And after they crash land right at her door, they find out that she is out of town for a week. So, naturally, Timmy asks Jimmy if he just wants to hang out, which after being confused by this says, "Okay, sure." This shocks Carl and Sheen to see them put down their feuds and just hang out. Hey, here's that really cool intro again. After sitting around trying to find something to do, Eustace Stritch shows up in town and causes havoc. Jimmy and Timmy team up together to fight him. As the battle rages on in the background, at the candy bar, we see the rest of the friend group finally take notice of what's happening outside. Sheen and Carl ditch the $17 bill on Libby. Jimmy and Timmy, however, start bonding over working together, mixing Jimmy's smarts and Timmy's fairies, or computer programs depending on who you ask, as Carl and Sheen start becoming extremely jealous of their newfound friendship, and I guess that they're not needed. Chester and AJ find out that Timmy has new friends that aren't them, while Timmy takes Jimmy into the world of the Crimson Chin to fight his rogues gallery of enemies. They find out they're beating up these bad guys just a little too easy, and seek more of a thrill at this point since they work so well together. While heading out, Jimmy drops his portable portal, or the Porta-Portal, as Chester and AJ sneak their way into Retroville as well. All the friends meet together and all are mad at Jimmy and Timmy for neglecting them all. And to be fair, for AJ and Chester, they neglected Timmy first, okay? And thanks to Deus Ex Cyndia, appearing in front of them is Cindy as she returns home from her trip early, with their new plan of having her get in the way of them and having them fight over her once more, completely severing their friendship. Jimmy and Timmy are too busy creating the ultimate villain since they need more fun and a tougher challenge. Cosmo and Wanda suggest that while they are creating this villain, that rather than toss him aside when they're bored like they did with all their other friends, that they make him adoptable, so some other person can enjoy him after they're done. So Timmy, rather than typing that, misspelled it, typing adaptable. I wonder how that's gonna turn out. When Cindy breaks into the lab and tries to distract them, they ignore her, send her out of the lab, and head back to Timmy's to work on the rest of this villain project. They finish up constructing him and with a little bit of magic fully bring him to life. His villainous ways at first are, well, pretty lame. Stuff like got your nose and all that, as he's just super nice and playful about being a villain, making the threat not as exciting as they keep having to coach him to be more villain-like. Eventually now, being bored with him, that sure was quick, they end up lying to him, telling him to meet him at the mall in 1 hour. The rest of the crew are now back in Dimsdale as Cindy has Chester and AJ fight over her instead, but they run into the villain who is waiting for Jimmy and Timmy. They tell him that, hey, you're being ditched just like we were, but he doesn't want to believe that, so he waits and waits and waits for such a long time that seasons change. Or as Cosmo says, wow, I can't believe all this weird weather, day and night cycles, etc. all happened in 1 hour. The villain, now actually angry, both sad and filled with rage, starts adapting, getting stronger and more powerful. So when the villain finds Jimmy and Timmy, he finally is the villain they've been wanting him to be.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
The battle heats up with Jimmy in a tank fighting the villain, but he continues to adapt, now being able to take down the tank, as they realize finally that Timmy, he misspelled the word adoptable. And everyone realizes that they didn't bother to give him a name. So Jimmy gives him the name Shirley, which he likes at first until Timmy laughs at how stupid it is, causing him to get more and more angry at them for tricking him once more. The battle continues to heat up as now he sprouts Doc Ock arms. Timely. But now the city is starting to get destroyed because of their fight. This challenge they built for themselves may be getting out of hand, so they try and use their fail-safe Destructo chip they had installed. But his adaptable body is able to stop this from happening. He then captures the two of them and starts draining Jimmy's smarts to the point where Jimmy is basically Timmy. Now with all of these smarts he stole, he then takes and eats Cosmo and Wanda's wands, so now he can be evil, smart, and oh yeah, magical. This turns Cosmo and Wanda into regular people, I guess. They try apologizing to him for a brief moment, only to trick him once more. You'd think they had learned their lesson by now. So they send Galactus here a letter saying that they escaped back to Retroville, which they technically didn't, so that's another trick. And while he's gone and distracted, Jimmy and Timmy go and beg their friends for help in this situation and plead that they're very, very sorry, but they don't want to help after feeling neglected and unwanted. Not Shirley over there in Retroville now, who's looking a bit rough in 3D, I'm not gonna lie, gets angry not finding the dynamic duo, so he starts transporting the citizens of Retroville into a new pocket dimension that he's created that is both parts 2D and part 3D called
Retro Dimsdale-ville!
He starts plugging in pieces and parts of their world to his, now creating black holes that are slowly eating their worlds alive now. He starts doing the same thing to Dimsdale, and now the rest of the friend group realize the threat level. So now they decide it's time to help, especially after Shirley captures Jimmy and Timmy. He has no beef with their friends though, and thinks that they're actually pretty cool, and invites them to come live in the pocket dimension and hang out. Oh, and they only have 2 days to decide that, because at that point, both of the worlds will be destroyed. We see that Jimmy and Timmy were hung up as magnets on an evil fridge. Well, it's just a regular fridge. I just got carried away there. I'm sorry. The rest of the gang all head in as Shirley uses the citizens from both the worlds as playthings, from card games to dominoes. Jimmy and Timmy escape from the fridge looking for some weapons, and as they run by the crew who lay flat to hide from them, overhear their regrets and apologies for neglecting them. It coming off as truly sincere. But also, remember how Jimmy is no longer smart? So the weapons that they use, they turn out to only fire bubbles. So now Shirley is trying to chase them down. But their friends end up hiding them as they all work together to come up with a plan. Some way to trick him into adapting out of the things that he adapted into. First, Sheen and AJ trick him into shrinking in height so he can play basketball with them, which works pretty easily. Next is Cindy and Libby having brunch with him at a restaurant that doesn't allow weapons in, successfully having him remove his arsenal. Carl then gets his attention, but Chester gets tangled up, missing his chance with a butterfly net. But honestly, let's just blame Jimmy, who along with Timmy were meant to be sneakily driving away in a monster truck. Not so sneaky there with a monster truck, I guess, but as Jimmy just honks the horn for fun, which alerts Shirley to where they are. But the plan somehow comes together as the butterfly net gets placed over him, forcing him to regurgitate the wands back, since magic, it doesn't work in a butterfly net. Now Timmy wishes for him to lose his strength, and both Timmy and Jimmy start apologizing to everyone and to Shirley for how they treated them all, and wish for everything to go back to normal. They then set up Shirley with his own restaurant, making him have a true purpose other than being another tossed aside thing. The worlds are saved, friends are all happy again, and it looks like Cindy and Jimmy may work out eventually. And what does Timmy get? Nothing. He gets nothing, not at all, not a thing.
Because it's not his
Timmy
world.
Power Hour Trilogy really is an incredible experience. More so when they first came out, but they were for sure a fun rewatch. Part 3 felt like it finally found a nice rhythm and fresh reason for another part to happen, with each part feeling a good bit different from the last. The basic formula, sure, it's the same, but the interactions between the characters or how they act between one another made them all stand out individually. I think what's crazy is how natural these characters mixing in together felt, especially Timmy within the world of Jimmy Neutron. How he interacts with everyone mixed with his own style of attitude and comedy. It never felt forced for the sake of putting two popular properties together to pry on your love for them both and sell you some DVDs or something. But surprisingly making a solid trilogy with fun moments, a love triangle, and Shirley. So surely you'll enjoy this trilogy as well. Or not, it's your life. But there it is, another Jimmy Neutron and technically Fairly Odd Parents video for this year. I'm sure I'll have more Jimmy Neutron content in the new year, but for now we have covered quite a bit of everything, including this. Yeah. That one's on you guys. But anyway, how do you feel about the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour trilogy, and which one of all three was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter. Or else I'll tell Shirley you ditched him. I'll see you tomorrow with another video for my next day of Frenchmas. Check out.
Alrighty, so that was the trilogy of Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. Man, let me tell you something, bro. That shit was legendary, bro. They don't do crossovers that good no more, bro. All of them was good, but I say the first one was really the one. That was the one. The second one had a pretty good story, but the first one it was just dope because it was dope for the first time seeing a 2D and a 3D show go the way it did. But anyways, though, tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. I'll get back to you today. Peace out.